Welcome back, everyone, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki. This is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today is episode 15, where we will be talking Challengers. This erotic, spicy sports film. It's a tennis movie. It's great. I saw it last night. I didn't see it in IMAX. I saw it in standard, but cannot wait to talk about it. Today it is Friday, April 26th, and I am recording this very late at night. It is 10:30. I've just got home from actually watching Dune Part 1 in IMAX again for the weekend re-release that they're doing. It was awesome. I'm seeing Part 2 on Sunday in IMAX again, so really cool to go back and watch Part 1, especially having finished the book a couple weeks ago. Watching Part 1 again after reading the book, there's like so many things that you really do pick up on after reading the book. So yeah, it was really cool. Really enjoyable experience. Been a big week. I defended my thesis yesterday, my master's. It went really well. I passed with minor revisions, so I'm working on those as well this weekend and hoping to get them in next week. So been a good week. We watched lots of stuff, but there's also lots of news to get to. So let's just get right into it. So the first piece of news that I want to talk about is actually, it's not really news, it's more just funny gossip. So it was Victoria Beckham's birthday this week. I'm not sure how old she turned, but anyways, there was like a bunch of tabloid reports of like what happened at the party and what went on, who attended, who were the big the stars, and there was like a Spice Girls reunion, which is cool. I love the Spice Girls. But the thing that caught my attention is that like Tom Cruise and David Beckham are really good friends. It was reported that Tom Cruise left guests absolutely dumbfounded by Tom Cruise's dancing. Actors Tom Cruise and Salma Hayek both made an appearance at Beckham's party, and while one left an impression with their outfit, the other left it all out on the dance floor. So Cruise, who turned 61 in July 2023, stunned guests when he began demonstrating a series of breakdancing moves, culminating in splits. People were absolutely dumbfounded, one guest told the Daily Mail. I don't know, maybe it's for the next Mission Impossible movie. Is he going to be doing breakdancing in Mission Impossible 8? Who knows, but a nice light thing to kind of start this episode with. But let's get into the real news. There's some rumblings of new releases, but one rumor this week was that Scarlett Johansson and Tom Cruise are to star in The Gauntlet remake, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. So Christopher McQuarrie, if you're not aware, he has been doing all of the Mission Impossible movies recently. I think he started with, I want to say Rogue Nation, which is number 5, and he's been working on all of them with Tom Cruise since. He's still directing the new ones as well. So Warner Brothers Pictures is the studio behind the project, and Christopher McQuarrie also did the Jack Reacher films that Tom Cruise was in, not the TV show, but there was also a movie version. Even though like in the book, Jack Reacher is 6'4" or whatever, and he's a huge, tall, blonde dude. Yeah, really odd. And there's an ad on this page as well. It's called Mad Muscles No Alcohol Challenge, and it's definitely an AI photo. That is terrifying. It's definitely an AI Jason Momoa photo. Anyways, enough of the ADHD sidetrack. So yeah, Scarlett Johansson and Tom Cruise in a movie for Warner Brothers. It looks like the Tom Cruise Warner Brothers deal is already going well, because the idea was with that partnership is that they would not only develop original movies that they'll work on, but also there could be remakes or whatever the studio kind of throws at him. He has sort of a first dibs type thing where he can get, first offers on things. But anyways, really cool to hear that. It probably won't happen for a while because they're still doing Mission Impossible 8. Yeah, 8, because 7 is part 1 of Dead Reckoning, but it's no longer part 1. But speaking of remakes, actually this is a sequel. There's this film by Danny Boyle called 28 Days Later. But anyways, it has Cillian Murphy in it. If you haven't watched it, it's really good. It looks like Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Ray Fiennes are going to star in 28 Years Later for Danny Boyle and Sony Pictures. So Deadline was reporting that the new 28 Years Later trilogy from director Danny Boyle and Sony Pictures is gaining momentum with some serious star power. So they added those 3 performers. It looks like Danny Boyle is going to direct the first movie from a script by Alex Garland, who just did Civil War. Obviously, he's not directing anything for a while, I think. I didn't know this was a trilogy. I didn't know they were planning a new trilogy of films. I thought it was just going to be one and done. So that's interesting. That Danny Boyle's done lots of stuff you haven't seen. Trainspotting, and that's a really popular one. But yeah, Danny Boyle's cool. I think he directed a Bond movie almost, or he did. I can't remember. I think he was close to directing a Bond movie. But yeah, so interesting. I think Cillian Murphy is going to be involved in this, at least as a producer, because he was in the first one. Did he die in that? I can't. Oh yeah, spoilers for 28 Days Later, I guess. Didn't he die? I haven't watched that movie in so long. I thought did he die in it? Or am I thinking of I Am Legend? Okay. Anyways, so that's a new trilogy of movies coming out, I guess, which is really interesting. And speaking of trilogies, we also got some Dune Part 3 news this week, which I think it was an interview of Denis Villeneuve talking to the New York Times, and they basically just listed questions about Dune to him and just let him kind of pop off and see what he wanted to talk about. So as I understand it, I read through it. It's interesting. It's kind of already a lot of stuff we have known from other interviews, but if you want like an update on Dune Part 3, he is still writing the script right now. I'm not sure if it's going to be a straight up adaptation of Dune Messiah, which I'm actually starting to read next week, or is he just going to, like he did with Part 1 and Part 2 with the first book, is he going to really streamline the info or just kind of take the idea and major story beats and tweak a lot? Yeah, it's interesting. I think what he did, like I said, after reading the book, I think the movies do a really great job of modernizing them. There's a lot of like old-fashioned stuff in the book that comes through and very speaks to the time of like 1965 when it came out. I don't know, like there's this idea that the Fremen, all men and women, are supposed to be equal in the Fremen society, but it's very clearly like the women are inferior to the men and serve all the men within the sieges. So what to take from this is that Dune Part 3, it's not going to be for a while. He's still working on the script, even though I thought he said when Part 2 came out, like, oh, the script is done. I've written the script, but he's still working on it. I mean, we shouldn't expect it next year. He's not like calling everyone back to be like, hey, clear your schedules. Let's do it. I think he might even do another movie in between. I'm pretty sure. So don't look forward to it anyways. And I was thinking that because I'm reading all the Dune books, it might be fun to do kind of like a special book review episodes. And that'll be separate from this show, you know, on my feed and within all my channels and stuff. I was thinking of doing like a book watch where basically I'll just give like a straight up, book review, like a little book club with myself, because like with the Dune book, it's really fascinating to see how many differences there are, but also just like evaluating it as a book itself. It's a really great book by itself to read. Pardon the voice crack. Oh my god. So yeah, I might get to that. So look in the feed, pay attention to the channel, turn on all the notifications for new episodes. I might drop that soon. There is going to be another Watcher watch back. I've gotten a lot of people that have listened to the Dune Watcher watch back and said I really like that, and it was a great thing to have like going into the new one. So Mad Max Furiosa comes out next month, and I'm thinking of watching all the Mad Max movies before then because I've never seen 1, 2, and 3. I think I've only seen, well, Fury Road, obviously, but is there 4 or 5? But anyways, I've seen Fury Road definitely, and I haven't seen the first 3 with Mel Gibson. So look out for that. I think the week before Furiosa, I'm going to do a Watcher watch back and binge all the Mad Max Fury. So, you know, you can learn about Mad Max before you go into that, because like it's, you know, Fury Road was awesome, and I still think it's like one of the best action movies that we've had in a very, very long time. So look out for that. Anyways, let's get to another piece of news. Aaron Sorkin is writing a potential kind of The Social Network sequel that looks to be about the January 6th insurrection, the invasion of the U.S. Capitol. So Aaron Sorkin, if you're not familiar, he wrote The Social Network, which for me is one of the best movies. I don't know. It's one of my, I would say it's one of my favorite movies. I love The Social Network, and it's such an interesting thing to show how much of a piece of shit Mark Zuckerberg is, who's now going by Zuck officially on his Instagram. But yeah, it's really interesting how he revealed this, actually. The Oscar-winning screenwriter broke the news when he was asked during a live from DC edition of The Town podcast about how Facebook and social media have influenced democracy in the years since his 2010 hit. So that's when The Social Network was. He said, look, yeah, I'll be writing about this. Sorkin told Matthew Baloney, that can't be right, and Peter Hamby, I blame Facebook for January 6th. And when asked about why he blames a social media company for a pro-Donald Trump mob storming the U.S. Capitol, Sorkin replied, you're going to need to buy a movie ticket. So really cool. I love his work, The Social Network as well. I've watched that movie with my mom and she loved it. Like I think The Social Network is just a super great film, and I always recommend it to people when it pops up. And young Andrew Garfield. That was the first Andrew Garfield movie I watched, and even Justin Timberlake's in it. So finally, because we're doing the Fall Guy next week, I wanted to bring up this week Emily Blunt talking about the algorithm, because I've been thinking so much about like AI recently and getting kind of really, I don't know, discouraged about AI and art and like the world that's evolving around us and people just like kind of giving into it. So Emily Blunt this week was talking about algorithms and AI and stuff, and let me find the quote here. She said, some new things frustrate me. Algorithms, for example. I hate that fucking word. Excuse the expletive. How can it be associated associated with art and content. We can let it determine what will be successful and what will not. Let me explain with an example, she continued. I was in a 3-hour film about a physicist, which had the impact it had. The algorithms probably wouldn't have grasped it. My hope is that Oppenheimer and similar projects are not considered anomalies, that we start translating creative experience into diagrams. I love that. I think I read that quote like 20 times to myself because I don't know, I love Emily Blunt. She's really, I don't know, she's kind of a bit of a boss bitch, you know, and that's cool. Like, go dunk on the algorithm. Good for her. And yeah, it is interesting how like Netflix puts out so much garbage and they let all of their projects be like dictated by a computer when, you know, all these original filmmakers and stuff like that have these brilliant ideas for films. Like the story of Oppenheimer, it's crazy that it did well. And obviously the whole Barbenheimer thing helped, but I think even without the whole Barbie thing, still Oppenheimer would have made a lot of money because it's Christopher Nolan, because it's Cillian Murphy, because it's Robert Downey Jr., because it's Emily Blunt, because it's Josh Hartnett, because it's everybody under the Earth's sun was in that movie. So I don't know, it's interesting to think about that, like some of the projects we have coming out and great pieces of art. If it were up to AI, would they make it? Would they say, yes, this would do well? Yes, would the, like a movie like Challengers, which I'm about to get into, would AI want movies like this or recommend movies like this? Like, it's scary to think about that. These original things that creators and storytellers fight for might not be even ever thought of by AI. So anyways, that's my little rant. The news was kind of light this week. I don't know, there was not major things happening, but I just wanted to have a couple funny things in there to keep it a little bit light and not think about too much. But yeah, that's the news. As always, before I get into the review, I'm going to say there's timestamps in the description or underneath the YouTube video or wherever you're on, streaming or YouTube. It'll say non-spoilers and spoilers for the reviews. I always start with non-spoilers and I try to go non-spoilers as long as I can. So that's all the news for this week. Use the timestamps if you want. You can bounce around, listen to the parts that you want to. But anyways, let's get into Challengers. Challengers is a 2024 sport romance movie, 2 hours and 11 minutes. Google's in a nutshell to describe it: incredible, tense, and powerful. 88% on Rotten Tomatoes and 81% audience score. It has a score of 83 on Metacritic, which both of those are very good. That's like a largely positive aggregate score. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino and it's distributed by MGM, Warner Brothers, and Amazon Studios. And so far at the box office, it's actually been doing pretty well from what I've read, I'm fairly sure. The music was by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, which we will get into. It stars Zendaya as Tashi Donaldson, Mike Fast as Art Donaldson, Josh O'Connor as Patrick Zwag, and everyone else in the story is irrelevant. It is only really about those three. The synopsis: Tashi, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, turned her husband into a champion, but to overcome a losing streak, he needs to face his ex-best friend and Tashi's ex-boyfriend. All right, so Challengers. I saw this last night, saw it with my girlfriend. We were both very excited. She loves Zendaya. I love Zendaya. I really like Mike Fast. I thought he was great in West Side Story. Josh O'Connor, I think he's solid in The Crown. I don't think I've watched the last season about Prince William or whatever, but yeah, really great performers in this. Let's get into it. Okay, Challengers. Amazing. I absolutely love this movie. I came out of it feeling amazing. I felt energized, and this movie is so stellar. I honestly do. I wish this movie maybe came out in the summer. I think if this was a July release or a June release, even a little bit later when, you know, I don't know, more people are at home or whatever, I think this would make so much money and would be such a hit because this is an exhilarating movie. I was just writing down, I know I read the Google like in a nutshell words, but to me, this is energetic, this is passionate, and this is a raw movie. I was so fired up after this movie. This is an exciting thing that you come out of the movie and your heart's pounding and you're like, oh, that was so goddamn awesome. Like when people say, you know, you need a good movie to watch, this is what people are going to be recommending. When it comes on streaming, it's at the movies right now. This is so awesome. I straight up, I gave it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, 5 stars for me. I loved it. Minute 0 all the way to the end. It was 2 hours, 11 minutes. It flew by for me. I was so invested. Everything about this is so top notch. There's one thing I'll get into that I understand why people might be not okay with it or a little put off by it. I mean, mean, my girlfriend, she was a little bit hesitant about this one aspect, but it's not a spoiler, but I'll get into it in a second. First, I want to talk about the cast. So let's get into the cast. Absolutely amazing. Zendaya, really good in this. I don't know, I saw a lot of people at the previews a couple weeks ago saying like, oh, Oscar nomination Zendaya. I don't know if I would go that far yet. I think she is very, very good in this, but I think the performances aren't really what make this movie like as great as it is. I think it's the overall energy and the story and the complicated nature of it that really drew me in. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like any three young performers, we could just like, I saw a funny tweet today that was like, we should remake Challengers with three of the hottest performers and three of the hottest like young performers in Hollywood every year or something like that. And that was so true, because I do think all three of the cast, as phenomenal as they were, I'm not trying to put them down at all or downplay how great their performances are. I do think they're like a little bit interchangeable, and their personalities don't really come through, or I feel like anybody could play these roles. That's just kind of a young, athletic, good-looking performer in Hollywood or whatever. But Zendaya as Tashi, really great. You know, when you see her when she's younger, and this is all in the trailers, I'm still in non-spoilers. You see when she's younger, she's this like fierce competitor. She's bubbly. She's, you know, dancing at a party. She's fun. She likes to giggle and have fun with these guys. And then when she's older and she's married to Art, she's super bitter, and you kind of see her journey of how she became this way. And it's just every character, well, actually, I won't say every character. There's only three characters you really learn about and know in this film. So all three of them just have great character arcs that kind of are shared with each other. And it's just, the journey this movie takes you on is so crazy. And I absolutely loved it. But anyways, yeah, Zendaya is good when she's young. She's like fierce and fun. And, you know, on the court, she's a beast, but off of it, she still has fun. But when she's older, off the court, she just seems unhappy, and she's just so shut off. I think everybody's going to watch this movie and root for someone different within that three of Josh O'Connor, Mike Fast, and Zendaya. And that's maybe a very cool part about this movie, is that everyone is going to cheer for a different character. There isn't like two of them that are on the same side. They're all kind of against each other in a way, which is really interesting. I don't know, just this is such a well-written movie. I love this script, and I think if it is going to get Oscar nominations, I could see it being a Best Picture nomination, definitely. And I think the script is going to be, I think the screenplay is definitely going to get an Oscar nomination. I could see that. It's very interesting. And, you know, this is Luca Guadagnino, Guadagnino. I can't remember how to say his name, but anyways, he did Bones and All. He did Call Me by Your Name. So like he's done good stuff. He loves his love stories with young, complicated people. So yeah, really good. Okay, back to the cast. Mike Fast is really good in this as well. He plays, his name's Art, and he's Zendaya's husband, as shown in the trailers. And when they're younger, he's best friends with Patrick, and they both are kind of going after Zendaya's character Tashi. And first Patrick is dating her, and then they break up. And of course, you know, that's the whole setup of the movie. That's what the trailers tell you. So I'm not breaking new ground here. But anyways, he's really great. He plays kind of a competitive professional snob, but he's still very emotionally immature. But he still loves his family, and he just wants to please Tashi all the time. Like, he's emotionally very vulnerable and just depends on her, and kind of, he doesn't know what to do with his life and just listens to her all the time. And she's not just his coach on the court, she's literally like coaching his life. Josh O'Connor as Patrick, I think he's really good in this as well. Like, his character is much more of a bum grinder type player. He didn't go to university or college. He just went straight into being a pro, and he's not making any money. You can tell in the trailer, like, his outfit compared to Art's outfit in the final when they're playing against each other. One of them is very well dressed, and the other one looks like someone you would play at your local tennis club. He's in like a worn-in shirt and checkered shorts, and it's really great, like the contrast in their life paths that you get in this story. And it's still not in spoilers. You see that very clearly in the trailer. The directing. Let's get into the directing. That's enough about the cast because there's only 3 people, but great cast. The directing is phenomenal in this film. I could totally see Luca getting a directing nomination because the tennis scenes are especially amazing. There is interesting cinematography, but the camera work he does, the perspectives he's choosing to show us, and just the tennis matches are awesome. There's these great under the court shots where they're clearly like shooting on glass with painted lines on the glass, so we're just getting like their feet moving around in the net and stuff. It's really interesting. You really do, while you're watching the film, appreciate every frame you're looking at. It's a gorgeous film. Whoever did the cinematography, I'm not sure, but they did this beautifully. It is a beautiful looking film, and the directing it's such a great, I don't know, he just keeps the pace going and the tension, and he's just making them be these complex, vulnerable characters, and they do it so wonderfully. It's such a great film, and he's using a lot of interesting during the tennis matches. Like you get some point of view shots where we're literally like, it's like watching a GoPro almost, but high quality, and like you used to get that in a lot of sports ads, but it's really cool to see it in this, to have a actual first person of the two guys playing tennis against each other. I really loved it. Also, there's like some interesting scenes where the camera is just the ball, so it's like they're hitting the camera back and forth. I absolutely loved that. Like, there's just so much interesting camera work and directing in all of the tennis scenes, and just within the movie itself, like in all of our intimate love scenes, just the setup and blocking of every scene is really good, and there's some very personal shots where we're kind of, like in the trailer, you see the one where they're both kissing her, and then she lays back on the bed, and there's that like overhead shot of just her face, and she's just smiling and sitting back, and it's just such a, I don't know, just you really do get so much storytelling through every choice and every angle, and the combination of directing with their performances is just so good. It's so good. The final match is one of my favorite scenes, or not even a scene, because it's split all through the movie. This is a movie that bounces around time-wise, which I really liked. The final part of the movie where we're watching the final match that's shown in the trailer, it's really great. It's I think I have to say it's one of my favorite scenes this year, because it's just so tense, and it's such a beautiful crescendo. And as you know, in the trailer, Tashi stops playing because she gets injured in college, and the injury is so gruesome. I think she like snaps her kneecap or whatever in 3 places, and it's so gross, and it does like these quick cuts with every bone breaking in her knee, and it's so gross. Oh my god. It's when she's in college playing against Art, and she's in a game, and this isn't spoilers, it's shown in the trailer, so just even that scene is so well done. But like if you watch the movie, the larger context that scene is happening in as well is so much more than just the injury. So really great. The editing, let's get into the editing, because this is where the film does get complicated, and I understand where maybe some people might not like it. So this is not just a linear story. This has tons of flashbacks, and we're jumping to different points in their careers, and at one point it does maybe feel like we're jumping a lot right now, but I think it's intentional to start picking up the intensity that we're watching, the stakes rise and rise and rise, and we're getting more information by jumping, and everything's starting to make sense by going to these different parts of when all these people's lives have intersected, and they've all pretty much fucked with each other and like ruined each other's lives in certain parts. But yeah, really great. My girlfriend was not a fan of a lot of the time jumps. It just felt like the scene was just starting to settle, and then boom, it would be like a time cut, which I totally understood. There were times as well where I was like, oh wow, we're cutting right now. Okay. But for me, it didn't throw me off that much, and she still really enjoyed it. She absolutely loved it as well, but I totally would get why other people as well would maybe not be a huge fan of that, but still really great. And the editing in this just brings such a good, the directing in combination with the editing is what makes the pacing of this film perfect for me. It feels like the train is leaving the station as soon as the lights go down in the theater, and it does not stop picking up steam all the way till the end. It is so awesome. There's no lulls in the story. There's no parts where it feels like we're just spinning our wheels until the next match. It is so great that we're seeing one match spread out over the entire movie. I absolutely loved the editing. It was so brilliantly done, and for me, it really sticks the landing in this movie, and such great combination with Luca's directing. And especially like the story, you're so invested from minute one in this story, and the opening shot in particular in the film is really, it's just gorgeous imagery. So you're immediately invested, and this love triangle story is so fascinating in the way that they do it. They use tennis as a vessel for kind of a metaphor for love and aggression and competitiveness and fighting for legacies, but also love and stuff. It's just these are the type of movies we want, these original type of stories. It's so awesome, and I absolutely loved it. It's so intriguing, and if you're a sports fan, I think you'd like this movie because it's also just a great tennis movie. If you're just a romance fan, you're not going to be bored by the tennis. Like, I feel like this is something that everyone is going to take something that they like from it, which is awesome. There's so much drama both on and off the court, so this really is a great sports romance movie, like Google said. The music, as I said, I was going to talk about the music. This is one of like the best soundtracks in recent memory for me. This is so good. Okay, I don't want to cap, not in like recent memory. I'm not saying this is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life, but the soundtrack has been on replay in my earbuds, in my car, while I'm working, everything. This soundtrack was bumping. It's an EDM techno soundtrack that you will be... I was literally like tapping my foot in the theater because it was so goddamn good, and it goes so well with the story and the pacing and the editing. And every time there's a tennis match or a tennis scene, the score picks up that EDM techno, and you just, oh my god, it's so good. But there's also very intimate moments where there's like classical music playing, and they have like original or not original songs, but songs that aren't just for the movie, like classic Spanish songs, I believe, and really beautiful. The score is so well done in this film. I seriously absolutely loved it, and I will continue to listen to it because it's just even if there was a lot of scenes where they took the score out, you would still I feel like you would still enjoy these tennis scenes, like with the drama and maybe just like the silence of what's happening. But adding that EDM techno just brings a kind of pace to the scene but it's like the cherry on top. Yeah, it just adds such a cherry on top aspect. It's so it's Trent Reznor, I think is his name. Really awesome. I absolutely loved it. This is just such a sexy movie, you know, like this is a great, I mean, Love Lies Bleeding was such like a great erotic film that just shows like the passion of a passion of love and like this open sexiness that's just so, you know, awesome. People just expressing their sexuality, and it's the same thing in this. This is just like a very erotic film about young passionate love, but then also as they're growing older, all of them, they're still entangled with each other and they can't stop fighting over each other, and it's just it's so great. It's about the passion of what you're passionate about in life, both on and off the court. And are you willing to fight for it? Are you willing to sweat for it? What are you willing to give up? And there's backstabbing, there's betrayals, there's great reconnection moments. It's so good. It's so good. I actually do want to watch it again. I really do want to watch it again. When this is out on streaming, I'm absolutely gonna. Also, when it's out on physical media, I'm totally getting this because this is one for the collection. Tennis is such a passionate sport with like groaning and yelling and such an intimate one-on-one, and it's like I don't know, and then it just speaks so well to the kind of person you are. And there's some great lines about like how tennis reveals who you are as a person that one person says in this movie, and it's awesome. This is a film I think everybody needs to see. If you're someone that says, oh, there's nothing original that comes out, it's all just Marvel movies and Star Wars, why aren't you going out and seeing this? Because this is a insane movie. You can walk out of the theater after this and you will feel energized. You will feel fired up. You're like, I want to go play some tennis. I want to go fire some tennis balls. You leave this with such a hyped up feeling. Don't watch it with your parents though, because it is very sexy passionate, and it's like something that you're going to be like, oh, okay, wow, would you look at the time? And you need to walk out of the room. But I totally recommend this. I gave it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Could not recommend it enough. Let's read some Letterboxd reviews that I screenshot before we get into spoilers. 4.5 stars from Patrick. May thy racket chip and shatter. Wow, very nice. Yeah, it is. It's so funny. Zendaya, 2 Warner Brothers movies in 2 months, and both of them are doing financially very well. Both of them, people praising her performance, saying she's carrying these movies. She's doing great. It's awesome. She is absolutely nailing it out of the park. She is like a Hollywood star, and there's all this BS that like we don't have Hollywood stars anymore. It's just like characters that are iconic. I think that's total bullshit, because Zendaya is iconic outside of the role she's playing. Like, people love her she has star power. And same with like Timothée Chalamet, same with Tom Holland. There's still so many celebrities with just star power as Hollywood stars. Not halal, sorry. Sydney, 4.5 stars. Hey, we saw you from across the tennis court and really dig your vibe. Do you want to engage in a biblical level throuple over multiple decades? Ay. 5 stars. Do they need a 4th? Tyler, 5 stars. Zendaya collecting white boys of the month like they're infinity stones. Yes, in the trailer she has her my little white boys line, and in the movie it hits like crack. It is so iconic. I absolutely love it. Vasily, 5 stars, average day for Wii sports players. Man, I was so sad I didn't have a Wii when I was a kid, but we had like PlayStation and more grown up, consoles than Wii. But yeah, Wii Tennis I wanted to play some Wii Tennis after I watched this. 4 stars from Hunter Strawberry, balls and all, 2024. Because he did bones and all. That's a deep cut. Alia, 4 stars. Taking your bisexual partner to this film is like standing in front of oncoming traffic and waiting for it to hit. Yeah, this is something for everyone. This is just attractive people on screen that you will not be able to look away from. Okay, that is non-spoilers. I've read my Letterboxd reviews that I was laughing at a lot after the movie. Again, I totally recommend this. If this came out in summer, it'd be the movie of the summer. This would be the Barbie. Everyone would go and see this. Well, maybe not everyone. Like 8-year-olds should not go and see this. But this is just a great sports and romance movie. I cannot recommend it enough. I think there's a lot of scenes in this for sports movies that can take note. Okay, spoilers incoming. So the end of the film, the final scene is a tiebreaker when Art and Patrick are playing each other. And basically the setup for this scene is that Tashi has asked Patrick to throw the match so Art will have some confidence going into the Open. And that's kind of like that's the really important part of this story. Is the only reason Art has joined this tournament is because he's losing a lot of matches. He's kind of rusty. I think he was injured and now he's coming back. He's a bit of an older player as well. He's in his 30s, which, okay, that's one thing. In this movie, I was saying to my girlfriend this morning, it's so hard to picture Zendaya as a 35-year-old. Like she still looks 22 to me. She does not look like a 35-year-old. You can get your Karen Bob, and same with Mike Fast. Like, dude, you do not look 35. You still look like 22 and like you're in West Side Story. It was kind of funny. It was like looking at them play like dress up as adults. Anyways, the whole setup of the movie is that he's the challenger in this tournament and he joins into this like small town Joe Schmo tournament in New Rochelle just so he can get some confidence, just whoop everyone going into the Opens. But anyways, the whole setup of the movie, as it says in the trailer, is that they play each other in the finals and it's kind of a winner takes all for Zendaya pretty much. And what I love about this movie is the lead up to the final scene of the movie. So we understand from the opening scene that this is the finals of the tournament. They're playing each other. But we're given more and more and more context and backstory to all of the dramatic tensions and the strings that are at play within this final. And it's so great. They could have done this linearly. This could have been a linear story and it still would have been enjoyable. But I think the broken up aspect of this, where we're getting kind of set by set in the movie and of who's winning, it's really great. And I love it because it just, every time we go back to that final match, which is in the present, you're like, holy shit, like that, there's so much more riding on this now. And it does such a great job of building the stakes. But there's just going into that final scene, and why it's one of my favorite scenes this year is there's so many questions you have, and it's such a great final scene. Like you just feel you're so nervous. And I was sweating going into that final scene. It's like, so she asks, or Patrick asks her, would you be my coach? Because Art says he wants to retire after the Open, and she's on the fence about it. She might do it, and they sleep together the night before, plays her husband the next day, and they sleep together the night before, and it's like, oh my god, is she also gonna leave him because he's not a tennis player anymore and Patrick wants to keep playing? And is he gonna throw the match? And there's this great use of a signal in the film. So when they were younger, Patrick was the first one that like made a move, or got to make a move with Tashi, because they meet the night before they're playing each other in a tournament. They meet Tashi the night before they're playing in a tournament, and she says, okay, whoever wins tomorrow can get my number. So the two guys are going to practice or whatever, and Art's just like, hey, like, just tell me, did you sleep with her or what happened? Like, are you guys going to keep seeing each other? And Patrick's like, oh, I'm not going to tell you. And Art's like, okay, well, give me a sign somehow in your serve. I want you to serve like me and give me a sign. And he holds the ball to the center of the racket before he serves and doesn't do his own style serve. And in the final scene of the movie, when Patrick is throwing the match and Art is like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is he just like smashing it into the net? He gives him the signal again that he used the first time to show that he slept with Tashi, and he gives the same signal. And it's so funny because Art just like stops and stands there and he's like, fuck off. And it's, oh my god, it's one of like the biggest laugh in the movie. It's so good. And then the finals, the closing of the film is Art smashing the final game point. He falls into Patrick's arms. They hug. They're friends together. And it's this like great throwback to when they were younger and fighting over the same girl girl, and the fact that they're still doing this, and she's cheering in the crowd over, her two little white boys. And it's just, it's so great. Seriously, the final scene is awesome. The whole final match, I just absolutely adored. It's just, the stakes are so great in this. So it is a love triangle of two guys interested in the same woman, but it is also, Patrick is bisexual or pansexual, and he likes men as well. I'm not sure Art is the same, or at least he's not open about it. Like, it's revealed that Patrick on his Tinder is also has men that he's looking at. So it's interesting. The first night that the three of them meet, they're like making out. They're having a threesome makeout session, and then she sits back, and the two dudes are still making out, and then she's like, and then they're like, oh, what? And there's little inklings before then when they're talking, the three of them, that Patrick maybe feels something for Art, because he's like, and they're telling embarrassing stories, and don't play this out loud if you have kids in the room or whatever, but Art and Patrick they're giggling, and she's like, what? Like, tell me, have you guys ever done anything? And he's like, well, not really. And then Patrick's like, well, I taught Art how to masturbate because, he was there. And it's interesting because at first it's like, Art says, oh yeah, I woke up and Patrick was masturbating and I didn't know how to do it, so he taught me how. And it's like, well, was Patrick masturbating because he was aroused that you were in the same room, or was he just masturbating and you happened to wake up? So it's interesting. You get kind of an inkling right there, and then when they keep kissing after she stops kissing them, and then you're like, oh, like maybe they are into each other. Anyways, Patrick is bisexual or pansexual, and it adds just a really great angle to it. It makes this love triangle like not a traditional thing of just the two dudes interested in the woman. It is also the fact that there is this third layer where Patrick is also kind of in love with his best friend Art. And they do have kind of like a very close, loving relationship, that they're not just best friends. Going back a bit, there's like one major flashback right before the final, is that in Atlanta a few years before the match that they're currently having, I think it's like 3 years before the match, Patrick and Tashi slept together. And they think that Art doesn't know, but Art actually like walked down into the hotel restaurant where they were having a drink in the middle of the night. He saw, then when he looked away to sign an autograph or something, he turned back and they were gone from the table together. So he knows that they slept together, and like, Patrick's trying to kind of hold it over his head in some way. He never tells him, but he says to Tashi, like, what do you want me to tell Art about Atlanta? But it's just, again, it goes back to like the complications of this story, that there's just so many great twists and turns, and it's actually Art does know, but he doesn't care because they've fought over her before, and it's like nothing new to him, so he doesn't even flinch. But just another great kind of stakes raising before we go to the final match. And it's just there's just great twists and turns every 5 minutes in this movie. I seriously love it. And the night before the final, when she asks Patrick, will you throw the match for me? Because I need him to win. I need him to be confident going into the Open because he wants to retire. And he's just asked her, will you be my coach as well? So it's crazy. But there's like a really heartbreaking part where she comes back after they've slept together in his car. They've had sex. She comes back to the hotel where Art is sleeping with their daughter. Like, he's in bed with her because she's probably had like a nightmare or something. Or he's just, I don't think it's that. I think that he's lonely and he just wants to be like held by someone that loves him truly. So he's cuddling with his daughter, and she walks in, and you can kind of see she has a lot of remorse on her face. Like, she's, I don't know. It just shows how complicated and kind of scumbaggy these people are. But that scene really struck me. It was super heartbreaking after she's just cheated on him again, and she comes back and he's like being a great dad, and he seriously loves their daughter, and just really sad. It is really sad. And it's just, there's so many great like emotional waves in this story of like, there's funny moments, there's super tense, like all the tennis scenes are just so intense and so well done, but also there's a lot of heart in this movie where it's all about, love and the complications of love. But I just really love the ending, that it's really these two friends coming back to square one, because Patrick and Art really do lose contact after Tashi's injury, because Art was there for her and Patrick wasn't. And at the end of the movie, when he gives him the signal that, look, like, I slept with her and I'm throwing the match for you, and they hug in the end, it's like, that's the cut as well. That's like the end of the movie. Screen goes black, and it's just, I don't know. I thought the ending was seriously brilliant to this movie. I absolutely loved it. I think that's all I'm gonna say for the spoilers. Like, I just think people should go see this movie because it is very enjoyable, and I watched some other stuff that I want to talk about as well. So that was Challengers. For me, it is a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Like, that is a 5-star movie. That is A+. It is great filmmaking. This is what people want to see, and I could not recommend it more. Okay, let's get into what else I watched. So, of course, tonight I watched Dune Part 1 in IMAX before I recorded this. Such a great experience, seriously, in IMAX. Seeing Part 1 again, this is my third time watching it in theaters. I've seen it a bunch of times, but watching it in theaters, second time seeing it in IMAX on re-release, which is really cool. Absolutely loved it. Part 1 is such a knockout movie, and I talked about it on here in Watch or Watch Back. Yeah, just awesome, and especially after reading the book, I think I have even a deeper appreciation. There's just like words have more meaning that they say that you don't catch because you haven't read the book, and they don't explain them in the movie because it's like it's just a part of the world, but in the book it really goes deep into a lot of meanings. But yeah, that was one thing I watched this week. Like I talked about last week, I finished Conan O'Brien Must Go. I watched episode 3 and 4, which was Argentina and Ireland. So good. I think the Argentina one was my favorite episode because Jordan Schlansky is there, and anytime he's interacting with Jordan Schlansky, it is so funny. They have this debate about how to pronounce tango because Jordan keeps going tango, and then Conan talks to the locals and they say tango, and it's just it's seriously just classic Conan. I think if you enjoy travel shows, you enjoy Conan's comedy. If you enjoy comedy in general, Conan O'Brien Must Go is seriously a must watch. It is one of my favorite things this year because it's just so delightful and stupid and giggly, and it's like he said, he doesn't want you to learn about these places, he just wants you to watch it and find it funny. So I highly recommend. I also started a new docuseries that's on Netflix. It's called Turning Point: The Bomb in the Cold War. I watched episode 1 and 2. Phenomenal. I've been really interested because I was gearing up for my defense. I watched a couple other documentaries about Cold War Yugoslavia, but I stumbled onto this one as well, which is all about the atomic bomb and the Cold War. Just really interesting stuff, and it goes into like after World War II. Well, actually, it starts with the atomic bomb and its use in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's just fascinating. It's if you can't handle like seeing injuries or like blood and gore, not gore. I don't know. How do you gruesome things? I don't know what the word is for that, but it's just very fascinating as well, like the whole dynamic that they're talking about after the war and what to make of the bomb. Yeah, I watched the other Turning Point documentary on Netflix that was about 9/11 and the war on terror, so I thought I'd give this a shot because I'm not in university anymore. I kind of miss my history learning fixings that I was getting for 5 years, so I was like, I gotta keep learning about stuff, so why not learn about the bomb in the Cold War? So I watched episode 1 and 2. Maybe I'll watch episode 3 after this, but I want to finish the Dune appendix before I read Dune Messiah next week. The final thing I watched, I haven't watched this week's X-Men yet, which I think we're going to like a 3-part finale for this season. I also need to finish Shogun. I think I have 2 episodes left. For some reason, it was really busy with the defense. I was doing a lot of prep, so I didn't have tons of time to watch stuff. But anyways, in my hotel, the night before my defense, I watched Survivor 46, where, spoilers, Hunter was voted out, and it was a phenomenal episode. I keep saying this every week, 46 is good. Survivor 46 is good, and especially after Banu. I mean, it was kind of painful every week watching the same thing of watching Banu have freakouts and yell at God that he shouldn't be on this island and it's God's fault that he's in Fiji playing Survivor when it's actually Jeff Probst and CBS that he should be blaming. But yeah, since Banu's been gone, especially the merge has been so great this season. Hunter went home with an idol in his pocket after being paranoid all episode. He still doesn't play it. So yeah, Survivor 46, awesome. We just started Survivor 45, my girlfriend and I, because she hasn't watched it. It's a great season as well, but 46, I'm seriously having fun, and this is my prediction. I think Charlie is going to win. I'll say it on here. We'll see. We'll come back in 4 weeks when it's over and see if I was correct, but that's what I've been watching. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. It might be a bit of a shorter one this week, but I'm exhausted after the defense. That was such an exhilarating thing. It was so much fun, and I got so many kind messages. I posted that I had successfully defended my thesis, and so many nice messages of people congratulating me. I seriously appreciated it. Now that the defense is done, I'm going to do my minor revisions and submit that. So maybe I'll, add a link somewhere of my work that if people were interested in reading that, you can absolutely read it. Other than that, guys, yeah, this has been episode 15. Can you believe we've done 15 of these? They said it couldn't be done. We did 15. Anyway, sorry. I was listening back last week and my awful Trump impression in the episode last week made me cringe so hard. But this has been episode 15. As always, I want to say thank you for all of the kind messages I get. Thank you for listening. Again, you can help this show grow. Do your part. You can rate and review the show 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. You can find it on Acast. Subscribe and follow everywhere and download your episodes. When you rate it 5 stars or you rate it as high as it gives you, it really does help the show grow with engagement. You can also find the show on YouTube where you may be listening to it or watching it. Why not subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every Monday or whenever new short videos come out. Leave a like on the videos. Leave me a comment. What do you think of Challengers if you saw it? Also, leave me a comment. What are you thinking of AI and coming into play with all of our art now? I understand that AI is a tool, but I don't know. I want to hear what people think about AI and stuff like that. Maybe, why not email the show? Let me know what you thought of Challengers. What have you been watching as well? What have you guys been watching? Leave me your reviews or recommendations of what you think I should watch and maybe talk about, or future episodes. Why not follow the show on Instagram at watcherofallthings? Also follow on TikTok where I post short things, especially after I finish all of my master stuff. I'm going to be posting a lot more videos in my free time. The TikTok account is watcher.of.all.things. I should really try and change that username. I absolutely hate it. But yeah, follow me on the socials and, keep up to date on all the things there. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at KikiJ70. That's KIKIJ70 on Letterboxd, where you can see all my reviews. Maybe I make some lists and stuff like that. As I said, there's always timestamps under the episode, so you can bounce around wherever you want. And that's in old episodes, you can go back. And I think after like episode 9 or 10 or something like that, I started doing the timestamps. So yeah, why not go check that out? Thank you again. So yeah, leave your 5 stars everywhere, your comments, subscribe, notification bell, follow me on the socials. Next week, we have a good episode. It's The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I cannot wait. It's getting really good reviews. Apparently, it's very funny. I'm very much looking forward to that. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Go into this spring and let yourself bloom into a beautiful plant for this summer. I don't know what the hell that means, but thank you all again for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you in the next one.